I'm a tiny taggart in a brave new world, gonna free this town. If you didn't know about me already, well, you know it now.
Hi, and welcome to my channel. I'm Objectivist Girl, if you haven't met me already. So I'm joined by Derrick J. Freeman of victimlesscrimespree.com, and you guys should definitely check out his channel. Tell everybody what else you do, Derrick.
Hey everyone, I produce a peaceful podcast called Peace News Now and a comedy news show called Sick Sad World. You can check us out on YouTube at Peace News Now and Sick Sad Show.
Awesome. So Derrick and I were just having a really great conversation because he's joining me here at the Quill, and we were talking about how liberty is empowering to individuals. So I was saying that liberty inspires people to take responsibility for themselves and to make their lives whatever they want it to be, and I think that's truly empowering. What do you think, Derrick?
Well, I think you hit upon the most important point, which is the empowerment comes from the responsibility. You know, people who aren't responsible or can't take personal responsibility for their actions can't have freedom. That's just, not that I'm going to keep it from them, but it's something that is enacted. People who are dependent or want to be given things look to move to states where they can receive handouts.
Mm-hmm.
And what excites me about living in New Hampshire is that that's not the kind of people who move here. The kind of people who gravitate towards this environment are the kinds of people who are personally responsible and want to be, they want to take charge of their own destiny, and they don't want to be given a handout. They want to make their own and create their own world, use their imaginations to make it a reality. So I think that's what's the most exciting thing about New Hampshire and the way that liberty empowers people.
Exactly. That's why I decided to move to the Free State Project. So what I really enjoy is the fact that we're trying to fight against a government that's infantilizing its citizens, and we're trying to create a society where people can grow and learn and empower themselves and enrich their own lives in any way they choose.
Well, I don't feel like I'm fighting against anybody, like you say, fighting against the government. Like, the idea of freedom is so personal and empowering that I feel like I can ignore what the people who are calling themselves the government do and focus on what my own life needs and what my community needs, Forget the people who are hundreds of miles away in Washington, or in the State House, for that matter. What matters to me is what my community wants and needs,
Yeah. And you've proven that time and time again with your 5 arrests. So, yeah, if my audience isn't familiar with it, we would love to hear a little bit about it.
I'm not sure how much that helped the community, but yeah.
It just shows that you're really committed to living your own life regardless of the people that are trying to stand in your way.
Well, that's one criticism I get for Victimless Crime Spree is, like, how empowering is it to end up in jail? If you're fighting for freedoms, do you really want to fight from the inside of a cage? Aren't you more effective on the outside? Well, yeah, I produce media. I made a documentary, victimlesscrimespree.com. It's free. I produce podcasts. For the last year, I did a 7-day-a-week summary of peaceful resistance news at Peace News Now on YouTube. Way more effective when you live freedom without going into the cage. So, I don't want to use my history as a good example of how liberty empowers you, except that it's in spirit it has, in some ways I'm less free. Like, now I'm not able to drive in New Hampshire. Like, that's some new rule.
That's silly.
Yeah, and that was because I decided to ignore a piece of paper that they sent me. They gave me a speeding ticket, and rather than contest it in their courts, which I don't feel like I have to respond to this threat, and I just ignored it. But now, like, you just get more pieces of mail, and they say, well, you're not allowed to drive here anymore. Like, that's not empowering at all.
I often talk to people
about
speed limits. I think they're ridiculous because people should know their own limitations. So I understand maybe making a suggestion of a speed, that would be preferable, but you shouldn't enforce a speed limit. You should allow citizens to make their own judgment and become responsible. It's part of that infantilization that we're creating.
Yeah, with speed limits in particular, the studies have already been done where if people are left to their own element, they drive at a much safer speed when you just want to keep up with traffic. And if they were to actually go the speed limit, it would be creating an unsafe condition on the highway. Could you imagine going 55 on some of these major highways where everyone's going 85? You would be putting people's lives at risk.
Exactly.
So sometimes following the law is absolutely not only the wrong thing to do, but the immoral and dangerous thing to do. So.
Right. I actually often say that if people were given the option to take charge of their own lives, that they would make the right decisions because they're not relying on a government to take care of them anymore. They know they're the only ones that are responsible. It's part of that empowering process.
Well, yeah. Well, it's empowering because they've got something to lose. When they know that they're personally responsible, you've got more on the line, right? So if someone else is going to clean up after your mess or pay for whatever damages you incur, then that's acting libertine. That's not liberty because there's no responsibility attached to it. So if you want the good, I mean, you have to go with the risk of the bad. So yeah, I think liberty is awfully empowering, and but there are of course pretty serious risks for people to consider when living free. It's not something to be taken lightly.
Absolutely. So thank you for joining me, Derrick. So again, can you tell everyone where they can find you?
Yeah, I'm at victimlesscrimespree.com is the best place to find me.
Awesome. So remember, guys, knowledge is not for all men, but for those who seek it. So keep seeking.